Done type situation. We came out and took care of business.
A dominant victory for the Atlanta Hawks. They move on to play Cleveland Friday.
Good day, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take on this Friday Eve. SA is off today. He's traveling, getting set for all this NBA playoff goodness. But look who's here. Crewed up. Tim Legler, Jay Williams, Louis Riddick will be here. Damian Woody, I'm Molly Karam. Gentlemen, how we feeling? How we living?
Ready to go?
I got nothing to prove.
Are you? Is it the playoff?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
Right off the
angry.
bat, you come out swinging like that. We'll get there.
Really?
I'm in a great
I
mood.
heard someone taking shots at him like he'll be at Fashion Week. I think that was windy.
I'm in a great mood.
Haymakers all morning. So am I. Let's get it, guys. They were hot in Atlanta last night. How about those Hawks blew out the Charlotte Hornets in the play-in game 132-103. Atlanta will play the Cavaliers on Friday, with the winner advancing to the Eastern Conference playoffs as the 8th seed against number 1 seed Miami. As for the Hornets, Miles Bridges was whistled for a goaltending call on DeAndre Hunter midway through the fourth quarter. Immediately went after game official James Williams, who called 2 quick texts on the fourth-year player as Bridges left the court and headed to the Charlotte locker room. A Hawks fan yelled in his direction, leading him to turn around and throw his mouthpiece. It hit a young woman by accident standing up in the arena. Here's Bridges with more.
I let my temper get the best of me. You know, that was definitely the wrong thing to do by throwing my mouthpiece. You know, I was aiming for the guy that was screaming at me, and it, you know what I'm saying, it hit a little girl. So that's definitely unacceptable on my part. And I take, full responsibility. I'm ready for any consequence that the NBA gives me.
You're up first. How should Bridges be punished for throwing the mouthpiece?
I think the NBA should give him a hefty fine. I've known Miles Bridges since he was at Michigan State. I think Miles Bridges is an incredible talent. I really love the way he's ascended. First off, regardless of whether your mouthpiece hit somebody it wasn't intended to hit, you shouldn't be throwing your mouthpiece at anybody. I don't care who you are, what athlete. I get that fans sometimes can go over the line. I would love to hear more about what the fan had actually said that would push Miles to this point. I've known him to be a mild-tempered individual, but I think he should be fine. But I like the fact that Miles, right out of the gate, went to social media and said, hey, let me apologize to this young lady. He should apologize to any fan after throwing anything. But there's a lot on the line here for Miles Bridges. Didn't have a good game last night. Last fall, turned down a 4-year, $60 million contract. He's up for a max extension this year, 5 years, $170 million. I think he will get that from Michael Jordan and the Hornets. But when you see play like this, it leads into those type of things from a temperament perspective. Can you trust Miles Bridges moving forward? I think you can. I think he just made the wrong move.
Completely agree. I think you go back to, what's going on in the game. He's a very competitive guy. He had a great year. He is going to get some votes for Defensive Player of the Year. He averaged 20+. They got smoked. He was frustrated. He thought he got fouled. Then they called a goaltender he didn't like. And next thing you know, boom, he explodes. He's walking to the locker room. Now, athletes are all used to walking through those tunnels in those situations, right? After games in hostile environments, you hear all kinds of stuff coming your direction, and you got to put those blinders on and just get to the locker room. He didn't. He stopped. He responded. Now, having said all of that, let's let the punishment fit the crime. Okay, he didn't turn and fire a basketball at somebody's face. He threw a mouthpiece that weighs half an ounce, and it brushed somebody's shoulder. I'm not saying that you ignore it, but if we're talking about trying to give this guy multiple game suspensions or something crazy like that, he's going to get a fine. I love the fact that he came out and what he said was perfect. He owned it. He didn't try to make any excuse for anything. Completely unacceptable. My actions, I reached out to the fan. I'm willing to accept any punishment the league hands down. You talk about like a scripted, perfect response for this situation, and that should
People should take notice on how he handled that.
Agreed.
Even how he wanted to reach out to the fan as well. I thought that was huge in terms of his character and how he handled it, because obviously he was in the heat of the moment.
No question about it. And again, let's look at what the real consequences of it could be. It's a mouthpiece. It's a small piece of plastic that hits someone in the shoulder.
It's nasty though, because I'm a germaphobe.
No, I hear you. No, I hear you. There's a gross component to it. I understand that.
I skeeve that kind of thing. But
I hear what you're saying. I agree with you that he should just get a fine. All I'm saying, though, is I look at situations, what would have happened the opposite way? If a fan had thrown something at the player, what would have been the reaction of the player? So I'm just saying, if we're holding accountability on both sides, he handled it correctly, still unacceptable, regardless of whether it hit the wrong person or not.
Yeah, I just will say this. We've all done a lot of things where we have to apologize, and we see it so much in sports in front of the podium. And yes, again, he couldn't have handled that with more class, more perfectly, and taking accountability and moving forward. All right, gentlemen, we're going on the court. Speaking of moving forward, can a healthy Hawks team, what do you think, Tim, upset the Heat?
Wouldn't say upset them, but man, they're going to scare them. They're going to scare them. You know, I've been telling everybody this week, if I went up to anybody just about a month ago, just quickly hit them up in the hallway, hey, man, who played in the Eastern Conference Finals last year? You would have had a hard time remembering it was the Hawks. That's the run that they went on. So this is a team that's dangerous. Now, they did not have the kind of year, particularly the first half of the year defensively, that we expected to see. So they dug themselves out of a hole, but they are playing their best basketball right now. Now, John Collins sat there and watched this last night, and they still won that game by 30. If somehow he makes an appearance, man, now you've got a team that went to the conference finals that's got one of the most dangerous offensive weapons in the league in Trae Young, because he can beat you with his scoring or his playmaking and controls games unlike few others. You now have a team that's going to feel very confident, because the one thing about the Eastern Conference, all these teams are really good. I don't know that there's a team out there that Atlanta looks at and says, man, you know, we really can't play with that team this year. When you look at Milwaukee or Miami or Boston or Philly or Brooklyn, I think Atlanta says, hey, we've got Trae Young. We went to the conference finals last year. We've got a puncher's chance in that series. So, Jay, I don't know if I pick Atlanta, like, you know, where you got to get on the line and, you know, make your pick known. All I'll say is, would that shock me if that went 6-7 competitive games against a team like the Heat, if the Hawks could beat Cleveland? No, that's not going to surprise me at all.
Let me say a couple of things here in this one, Legs. We just got done celebrating the top 75 reunion during the All-Star break for the NBA.
Yeah.
I truly do believe this. When it's all said and done, I think Trae Young will end up being on that top 75 all-time player list. He is that talented. I think there needs to be respect on his name. You and I were talking during our show, Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max, and we're saying when you think about Stephen Curry, 6'3.5", 6'4", people see him on the TV screen, they think he's 6'1", but in reality, he's a lot taller. I've stood next to Trae Young. I'm 6'2". You know, he's labeled 6'1". He might be 5'10", 5'11", like on the verge, right, of 6 feet.
Yeah. What
he's doing, how he's changed the dynamic of how the game is played with his handle, with his shot-making ability, I think is a differentiator, right? 14th time in NBA history that a player has finished a season averaging 28 and 9 assists. 14th time in NBA history. So are there some health elements to this whole thing for this team? Yes, I think obviously Bogey having the knee injury, even though he's still playing on top of that. You look at Lou Williams, you know, will he come back and play? John Collins is a huge piece to this team, defensively what he brings to the table, and also a lob threat for Trae Young off every pick and roll possession. But if they are healthy, and I love the Heat. I think the Heat have by far the best culture. Their culture is up with the best of the best in the NBA, with the Phoenix Suns. But the one thing I've always worried about the Heat is when it comes down to it, down the wire, could Jimmy Butler be that clutch player for them to make shots when you need it the most? I've always thought Jimmy Butler would be a better 2 option, 3 option on a championship team. Now, I know they got close in the bubble, but I've never seen him as the primary guy. I know Tyler Hero, guys like that are emerging. I love what they bring from a defensive culture, PJ Tucker and company, Bam Adebayo. But if they are healthy, with the way Trae Young is involved in pick and rolls, if he gets going, yeah, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and I think there is a legit chance it could go 7. It could go 7.
All right, let's flip it. You know who else put in work? No surprise, that'd be LaMelo Ball. Are his days in Charlotte numbered, in your opinion?
Be more specific in your question. You think he's just going to want to leave there in a couple of years? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm saying he's going to want to leave.
Yeah, I mean, listen, who knows? I mean, I look at it this way. The entire culture of how guys come into the league has changed, Jay, in my opinion. I think guys are already thinking about their next stop before draft night, right? That's just different. It used to be, you know, guys got drafted by a team and, you know, in your naivete, you're thinking, man, I'm going to spend my whole career with this organization. Guys don't think that way anymore. So, yeah, there's a very good possibility he could be somewhere else. At the end of the day, there are a number of factors that guys will put in front of them on a piece of paper in determining their criteria for choosing where they want to play. Now, money is always going to be probably at the top of the list, but these guys are getting great money no matter where they go. So then it comes down to who are you playing for, meaning who's the coaches. What are you playing for in terms of, are we playing for a title or are we playing just as another team in this league? Who are you playing with is maybe the biggest factor outside of money. Who are my teammates? Because these guys form relationships. They want to play with other stars. They develop these relationships well before they get to the NBA. So based on all of that, in a small market like Charlotte, is it going to be shocking to see him so